Hi, everyone. I'm Gold Derby News and Features Editor Ray Richmond, and today I'm joined by the five-time Emmy-winning Queer Eye showrunner Jennifer Lane and its first-time Emmy-nominated director Ali Moghadas. Welcome and congratulations to you both.
Thank you.
Um,
Thank you.
just to quickly describe the show for those who may be unfamiliar, I don't know how that is even possible, but the Netflix reality series Queer Eye features five gay male experts known as the Fab Five who meet up with a new deserving human each week to offer them advice and guidance and transform their lives. Jennifer, let's start with you. Um, you've been involved with Queer Eye since the inception of this reboot in 2018. What were your marching orders for this series at the outset, and how is it designed to be different from the original Queer Eye for the Straight Guy that premiered on Bravo? Yikes, 20 years ago.
I know. I love the fact that it was actually a generation later, which allows it to come back with some fondness. So, like, one of our first initiatives was to say, let's get the Fab Five out of New York, where they are not fish out of water. Let's put them where they're fish out of water. And so that's when Atlanta became home for season one, and we kind of stuck with the Midwest for a little bit, as you know. And it's because it seemed more interesting if the Fab Five were on a journey too. And I think the initial show was very much a high-powered comedy. I noticed they don't even do like B-roll transitions between scenes. It was yada, 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 very quick, very funny, very many jokes. Culture was a little different back then. So we knew we wanted to create a show that would not alienate old viewers, but of course, grab them and grab a whole new team of viewers. So we wanted to make a show for today's audiences, which usually means more authenticity. It was less sticky. We really cared about the documentary aspect. We cared about telling stories that were untold. And so there was sort of these various areas in which we knew we could mature the show for today's audiences, kind of.
So was the evolution, Jen, from season 1 through 7 kind of a natural process in seeing the evolution of the Fab Five themselves? Or was it kind of more purposeful where you're like, here's what we're going to do in 2, here 3. By the time you get to 7, it's a whole different, almost kind of show. It seems like it's grown increasingly empathetic and heartwarming in the approach, I think, the last few seasons. It's certainly not for laughs anymore.
That's funny. I think, maybe it's because there's more to protect. Maybe the Fab Five were a little more saucy back in 2018. Actually, we filmed it in 2017. So it's been a long ride for sure. But I think I remember even that first morning when we were going out to Tom Jackson's house. And I think this is remarkable too, that it became our first episode when it was our first episode. And it was just them giggling about Georgia and how they were scared. I mean, we were all laughing so hard. It was like one of those really beautiful moments where we realized we have a new show here. Yeah.
Did you try anything different in season 7 in New Orleans than you had in, say, season 5 or 6?
I'm always trying to shake it up a little bit. Like, like sometimes we're like, oh, let's do Speedy at the loft and have Speedy visiting here. Or let's bring in Wesley. We're always wanting to add some spice, if you will, but there's a diminishing return sometimes when you're trying too hard to make changes. People still just want that damn bar at Cheers. It doesn't matter if it's the same bar at Cheers every episode. It's part of the joy to return to a comfortable blanket. Sorry to say. So we try not to do too much shaking up, but we certainly have fun trying. Like in New Orleans, we invited all of the Fab Five's partners to this bar afterwards. And so that was really crazy to do, breaking the fourth wall like that. Mm-hmm. So I love that Netflix always gives us this really beautiful, creative avenue that's very wide.
And you're right. We want that familiarity. We want that faded pair of jeans that we can just put on every night after work. Ali, it seems like, in fact, it doesn't just seem, you were relatively new to Queer Eye this past season, directing Speedy, speaking of Speedy, Speedy for Life episode. Yes. What was that experience on that episode like? Speedy was such an alternately heartbreaking and inspiring guy. paralyzed and wheelchair bound after a car accident that killed his mother. Yet we emerged from this episode with real hope for him.
Yeah, he, for me, he was a very special hero. And you come across certain people in life where no matter what happens to them, they still just take that step forward and continue to thrive. And that's how I saw Speedy. He really did go through a very traumatic experience. And he's, a motivation for us all, I think, especially to me, getting a chance to be around somebody like him, it makes life seem, just that much more possibilities. You never fall. You're looking for inspiration, like the kind that Speedy shows in life.
So how did you get associated with the show at this time? I know that you have a lot of cinematography on your resume. Not as much directing, but you have some history with Jen.
Jen and I go way back. She got a hold of me straight out of film school. Graduated from AFI, top of my class, and we were like two peas in a pod. We just thought the same. We approached storytelling the same. I really every time I'm working with Jen, I feel like I challenge myself in different ways, but I also just I was telling her the other day, she just brings out the best in me, and I think she does that for a lot of people on her team. She has this innate ability to allow you to be a part of the bigger picture, and everyone just feels as though they have a voice, and it's like a symphony. It all just works beautifully.
And Jen, you don't regret having hired him. Clearly, the man.
No,
the man
I
wound
might
up
have
with an
asked
Emmy
him every
nomination.
year before this, but he was too busy.
Yes, I know. I'm embarrassed to say that I did turn down the show a few times that Jen offered it to me, only because I have young children at home and it meant for me to be away from them the entire summer, which they still have not forgiven me for missing all of last summer. So I've spent this summer, maybe we've gone on 4 camping trips together to try to make up for it.
Ali, your resume again seems like there's more cinematography than directing on it. Do you find that you use radically different muscles for each?
Yes and no. I think with a show like this, there's so many talented people at play, and they kind of just brings it all together. So I think the fact that I have a lot of cinematography experience, Jen, look, my boss is a cinematographer, is a director, and is now a showrunner. So when you're faced against talent like that, it helps to have your mind work in all these different areas. And I think with a show that moves as fast as this does, and it is so authentic and it is so real, you do not want to miss a reaction. You don't want to miss an emotional moment, because there is no second take. This is what makes this show so great. Every time I watched it, I was like, wow, how did that happen? Well, I know it happened because I know the hard rules that Jen Lane sets. And these rules make for really powerful and impactful storytelling at this level.
And Jen,
you know what though? Those rules
Yeah,
came from someone else, because I learned from many incredible storytellers. And I remember my first reality show, Rupert Thompson told me that if the phone rings and you miss the phone, never go back and shoot the phone, because you're signaling to the audience that you're fake.
Yes.
They know a documentary camera when they see one. And so we do have a lot of creepy rules, but I got them from somewhere. Which is like the POV of the Fab Five when they knock on the door. You can't be inside with the hero, or you're kind of, whose POV is this show? Anyway, lots of rules.
Oh my God, are you saying that there's reality in your reality show, Jen?
Yes. Like, we've never asked someone to walk in the door again and pretend to be excited about their new house. That's just never going to happen. I remember on Extreme Makeover, it only happened once, 9 seasons. They moved that bus again. Because they moved the bus and the lady said, I wanted a Victorian.
Well, it feels like the Fab Five are really kind of life coaches now on your show, Jen. Whereas on the original, they were more tossing out almost random suggestions that felt a little bit more haphazard. Would you agree with that?
Oh, 100%. They're very much counselors, all of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they take pride. It seems like they really take pride in that.
You know what's fun too is that I like that they don't have to try. What this is are two adult, mature people from maybe different walks of life having enough kindness to spend enough time to listen to someone's story. And when you do that, beautiful things happen. Like, I'm lucky we got so many Emmys, but really that is a beautiful hook to sit down with someone you thought you had nothing in common with and find out you really care about them. Yeah, that's cool.
And it's such a joyous and inspiring show. I'm sort of a shameless fan, and it was so different. I mean, I loved the original, but such a different vibe for this show. The only things that they have in common is the title, and even the title is slightly different.
Yeah.
Obviously, Emmy voters agree, though, with just how inspiring the show is. 35 total nominations, record 5 consecutive wins for Outstanding Structured Reality Program, going for 6 in a row. If you could step outside your obvious extreme participation for a moment, what do you think it is about this show that so resonated with the TV Academy?
It's funny because I wondered, is it the popularity of the Fab Five? Are they good at social media? And then I try to think, well, what if it is producing? And then I think, yeah, I voted for Vanderpump Rules. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but I did it because it's hard to get good shit in reality. People don't realize it's like we're dancing backwards in high heel shoes, folks. We're trying to make story happen out of nothing sometimes. And sometimes when it is happening, we're moving on the fly to get it for real. Like, for example, Stephanie's proposal. I said to the producer, don't you dare tell them that we can buy their ring, ever. We're not buying wedding rings on Queer Eye. That's not our show. If this person wants to propose, they're going to have to do it on their own. She needs to go clear out her bank account if she wants to propose. So anyway, it's this beautiful magic that sort of forces the person to act in their own life. And when that happens, when we're running to capture the moment as best as we can, that's when Ali's describing the symphony. It's so wonderful because we all have the common goal of how we're going to capture this and what authenticity means to our show. So I was excited about that proposal because everybody wanted it, but I refused to even put it down as a possibility.
Because you are not the Bachelorette. You're not the Bachelorette, for crying out loud.
No, Nathan Lane isn't here. We can't do this. So anyway, yes, authenticity is our middle name, hopefully. And maybe that's why Academy viewers recognize that it is difficult to just quiet this storm down long enough to get real shit. So I'm sorry I cursed.
Oh, please. Actually, I was hoping for increased cursing. So thank you.
Well, I'll be careful because I'm terrible at it. It's Tam France that started it. Yeah.
Ali, you obviously got to know the Fab Five pretty well while directing your episode. What kind of guys are they? I mean, what are they like once the camera stops rolling?
Who's your favorite?
They're the same. It's remarkable. Who's my favorite? You try to get me in trouble. No, they're just amazing human beings to be around. And, every day I walk on set, I'm like pinching myself. I'm like, holy cow, I'm just around such inspirational people. Each one of them, I think each one of them have their own process with how they like to work. That was interesting for me to figure out. I must admit, I was a little nervous to, step into a show that was already so well on its way. And, the onus is on me to prove myself to be worthy of listening to. Jen Lane was very supportive of that. And I feel like I clicked with them fairly quickly,
yes.
I didn't want to be in the way.
It's not easy being green, and this is no joke. For directors, they get their butts handed to them constantly by people that have been doing it for a long time. So I love that they loved Ali. It was my greatest joy.
Jen, do you find when people, I mean, not just that when you're doing Queer Eye, but doing reality shows in general, that people are automatically suspicious that it's not real somehow and that you're all having to constantly prove yourself?
100%. Yeah, I remembered an old book about documentary filmmaking that said, whenever you're introducing a camera into someone's life, you're already faking it. So can we just give reality TV a break for a second? Like, the fact is, when you're doing Dateline, it's not real. People are sitting in front of a camera saying something that they think they remember, all of it. I'm just saying, I think, yeah.
Absolutely. A camera absolutely changes the dynamic of any room and any interaction.
Yeah.
But it's heartening, I think, to see such middle American acceptance, if that is indeed the case, of 5 gay men and their empathetic sensibilities, as this series has found. How different is that from the world of even 20 years ago when the original series premiered?
Gosh, our culture, it doesn't ebb and flow. When we first started in 2017, it felt joyous and open, but then Pulse nightclub had just happened, and you're like, wait a second, all these atrocities across the globe. And so, I'd say it mattered in a different way to this generation, if you know what I mean.
Absolutely. And Ali, how did this gig on Queer Eye compare to your other directing jobs, or any of your other work on TV series in general?
How does it compare? It doesn't compare. This is a category all by itself. It really is. I don't think I have the words to express how special this project is to me, particularly because of my background, I think. Having been born in the Middle East, in Iran, I come from a different sort of culture that I think in the media today is portrayed in a certain way. So I was really proud as a Middle Eastern man to be given this opportunity to work with, hosts that are so amazing. And it just doesn't compare. It doesn't compare to anything I've done. It's very special, and I feel very fortunate to be given this opportunity by Jen Lane, and I'm so proud to be connected with the project.
And Jen, that's why you're having Ali back for season 8, right?
Oh, 100%. Mhm.
Did-
But if he's
have,
available, you know how that goes.
Yeah.
have we even confirmed that there is a season 8?
No, we certainly can't confirm those things, but everything's boiling under the surface, I must assure you.
It's going to be confirmed in like 2 hours, right? You're just holding out on me.
I don't know. Ask these two.
They have now been asked, the invisible people.
Yeah.
If we had a favorite moment, Jen, from season 7, what would it have been?
Before you even finish your sentence, I went to Gay Georgia with Tammy Hicks. So let me get to season 7. Oh, the cold open. Are you kidding me?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
What an absolute bizarre, crazy situation. They said, you're never going to close Bourbon Street, ever. Forget about it. And then there we were, the Queer Eyes dancing down the street. Loved it so much. But Ali, and there's always moments too in every episode that draw you in. Like I think of Karama's conversation with Speedy at the basketball court. I think I'm getting goosebumps. I think of the frat at the campfire. Sometimes we can just be crazy for 90% of it. And then, wow, we just get, every episode has a moment like that. Yeah. It really does.
You really have there are a lot of special moments built into this. And you're right, the basketball during the Speedy episode, when he was playing basketball, oh my God. It was clear that was the first time he'd really been on the court since his injury.
It was. And I don't ever want to produce a scene that would exploit somebody. So this was very carefully calculated, and Wesley was very much a part of this. But we discovered too that maybe Speedy hadn't played basketball because Speedy has an injury that's way higher than Wesley's. Mm-hmm. So he has no core at all. So having Wesley there to bring him the strap, knowing that Speedy couldn't throw a basketball without it, is sort of part of the magic behind the scene too, is that as producers, I think we make sure that we are not, that if we have a certain situation, that we're using the best counsel to help that person and not always assuming that that is us. That is us.
Yeah. Well, with that, we're actually out of time. Jen Lane and Ali Moghadas, best of luck at the Emmys in September or whatever month they wind up being due to the strikes. And thanks for joining us today at Gold Derby.
Thank you. And if I have 2 seconds to just say this, because Ali said so many nice things about me, I will just say this, that Ali is one of the most creative geniuses I've ever known. Knows exactly where to put the camera, doesn't do it with an ego. And that's what Queer Eye needs.
Thank you.
I think you've got a job for season 8 for sure.
You can tell.
Thank you again to both of you and best of luck.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.